Hey everybody, how's it going? Carlos Mencia here, and it is time for the Mencia Minutes, where I take stories that occurred during the week that I find funny or interesting and put my spin on them, my comment. Some of them funny, some of them just interesting. At least I believe so, and that's what this ride is all about. Everybody needs a conductor for the train. You are on the train, I am the conductor, so it is time. And if you're the caboose, remember, I love ass. I'm an ass man, so you're my peeps. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, listen, let's get into it right away. I feel like a broken record. Oh God, that makes me old. I feel like a glitch in the Matrix. Lick, 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 lick. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Max Headroom, just repeating myself. But we got this Asian thing. This Asian thing is killed. First of all, yeah, we'll get to the shootings at the spas, but it's okay. First of all, I don't understand why you're mad at Asians in general. I don't even understand why you're mad at people that are of Chinese descent in America. Okay, people that came here from China pretty much love America, hate China. That's why they're here. Their choice of being in America lets you know that they're down with America. So instead of running up to some Asian or saying some stupid shit like chink or whatever the fuck you're gonna say, why don't you just say, man, fucking China? And even in an accent, I guarantee you they'll go, yeah, fuck a China, it's the bullshit, you know? But no, you don't even think about that. So, and that's if you're down with like hating Chinese because of the COVID virus, which again, you can't blame. I mean, unless it came from the government of China, from that lab, which if it did, again, the people that are here to get away from that bullshit, so you can't get mad at them. And on the other side, you can't get mad if it was just a virus that came up. That could have been anywhere. That could have been any country. It just so happened to be there if it came out the other way. But let's just say that you have a good reason to be angry at Chinese people. What the fuck are you doing beating up Koreans? What are you doing there's a big difference between Chinese and Korean. They're not the same. That would be like walking up to somebody in Mexico, stabbing them, and then saying, I fucking hate Americans. They're not the same. They would be like, that's not me. It's the same thing. So, like, first of all, be intelligent. But if you're gonna be, I was gonna say ignorant, but racist, like, at least know you're racist, for Christ's sakes. Those are the first two. Right out the gate. Stop with the hating the people from China because they don't like China. They probably hate China more than you do. And then more importantly, the government had to do with it, then they didn't. And if it didn't, you can't blame them. And then, please, stop beating up people that are not Chinese if you hate Chinese. This is just going. And now, let's get to the spas, okay? Excuse me. I know. There's a big discrepancy here. I know. Oh, he was just an addict, man. First of all, why are we feeling sorry for this piece of shit? Seriously. I don't give a fuck that he was addicted. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Well, you know, I don't care. He was having a bad day. What the fuck? I've had a lot of bad days and thought of doing some stupid shit for a little bit. But I've never done it because I'm not fucking crazy, and if I ever do, don't feel sorry for me. I'm feeling sorry for him and his addiction. So he went to, okay, he could have went to a whorehouse. I know there's a lot of them there. He didn't have to target a specific industry that seemingly has more Asians in it than anything else. But then they, oh, well, he wasn't targeting the Asian community. Well, then why didn't he shoot other people? Why didn't, and more importantly, why didn't you shoot it yourself, dude? I hope you see this video. Why didn't you fuck shooting yourself? You should have cut off your balls. That's what you should have done. Because you know that's where all the man stuff comes from. The man juice stuff. El jugo del hombre. That comes from your balls, bro. So you could have cut off your goddamn balls. And then you know what would have happened? You wouldn't have even wanted to have sex, period. And so, as a matter of fact, we're living in an amazing time where we can actually chemically castrate you. So if you were really that mad that you wanted to end life, you could have just went to a doctor and said, hey, can you give me some pills or a shot that's gonna make me not have any sex drive whatsoever, which is what we do to some pedophiles? Yeah, that could have been you. But no, you didn't cut off your ball. Shit, you could have cut off your dick. Even with balls, you have no dick. That's like having a tire with no cars. Where are you gonna go? You can't go anywhere. You don't have a car. It's the same thing. Even if you had balls and they were like, hey, jerk off. Wah, wah, wah. You don't have anything to jerk off with. So there you go. This guy could have done that. But no, he chose to go to spas as if he didn't know that is where a lot of Asians work. Yeah, let's pretend that one. Fuck that guy. We know what we should do? Well, I guess there isn't. Oh! We should send him to China. Well, see, but the majority of people that he shot weren't even Chinese, so we couldn't send them to China. Over there, they would handle this shit. Oh, they would handle this shit. They would cut off some balls and dick. I don't care if he targeted or not. He could have killed himself. He didn't. Pull it into a hate crime. I don't give a shit. Let's not. But here is another story that relates to this story, okay? So, if you ever watch the Simpsons, Apu, he's the guy that runs the Quickie Mart or whatever the version is. I don't care. Don't send me email. You don't know what it is? What? It's escaping me. I don't care. You know who it is. Apu, that guy. Well, Matt Groening, who is the creator, said he's proud of the character. He's proud of Apu. And see, here's the problem. People that complain about Apu, right, say that is unfair. It's not cool that you do this because what are you trying to say? That if you're Indian or you're Hindu, you work at a mini mart? That's just a stereotype. But those same people say, hey, this guy needs to be charged with a hate crime. Why? Because he targeted Asian spas, massage parlor spas that he knew had Asians in them. Well, is it one way or the other? Is it that Asians are there or they're not? Is it that Hindus work there or they don't? You can't have it both ways. Stereotypes come from somewhere. I find it interesting the ones that we accept and the ones that we don't. All my black friends pretty much hate stereotypes, except that they got big dicks. That one is not a stereotype. That one is true, which, by the way, not true. How do I know? Because unlike most men, I'm not afraid to tell you that in high school, I fucking looked. And so I could tell you 100%, not all black dudes have big dicks. Wow, I can't believe with all that, that's where this ended. But it did. And staying on the subject, Kenya Moore, I think housewife of Atlanta. I don't follow that kind of stuff. I really don't. Reality TV isn't reality. If you ever want to see reality TV for real, call me. You and I can fly to Mexico, then fly to Central America and go to one or two of the Northern Triangle countries, go to Africa, and we can see some reality that's going to really affect you and make you understand. Outside of that, this is all bullshit. But she got in trouble because during Halloween, which, by the way, Halloween, you can dress however you want. She, I guess, wore a Native American headdress and offended some people. Look, I don't know where the lines are anymore. I really don't. What are the lines between celebrating and not celebrating? I have some Native American friends that hate some of that stuff. I have Native American friends who love that stuff. I have some Seminole friends who don't like that they're called the Seminoles, and I have Native American friends who still go to Florida State and in the middle of that do the they still do it. The Chiefs. I don't know where this line is. I don't even know who I'm offending anymore. I feel like sometimes somebody says something and the people that it affects aren't getting offended, but other people are getting offended, and I don't know. Should I listen to somebody who's not Native American about what Native American feel when my Native American friend is telling me something different than that? I have no idea. Here's what I do know. On Halloween, I could dress like a serial killer, like a legitimate, real serial killer. I guarantee you that I could dress like Richard Ramirez and people would be like, oh, that's kind of funny, because that's acceptable, but a Native American headdress, that shit goes too far. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm saying I don't know. So all you people that are woke enough that you actually know, can you print out a book for us? Can you print out a pamphlet or something that I could go to that tells me what I can and cannot say, what is offensive, what is not offensive, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, so that then I can behave? And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I am not gonna listen to everything you have to say. But at least I'll know and I'll take ownership. And when I say something that's offensive, I'll know that I said it knowing that it's offensive. Because when I'm hanging around with my black friends and they use the N-word and they call me the N-word, we just go back and forth and everything's cool. But that conversation has to stay that way there, because when I leave it, I can't talk that way. The rules apply differently, they change differently. When I'm hanging out with my gay friends, oh my God, you should hear the things they want me to do to them. And the things that they say they would do to me, and that I'm the biggest F on the planet. Yes. But then when I'm not with them, I can't use the word. I don't know where these lines are drawn. Please, please, you woke people, and I mean this in the best of ways. Write a pamphlet, write something down, put it on the internet, let the rest of us know what the rules are so we can follow them. Because until then, I'm probably gonna say some shit that is really fucking offensive. A case in point of what I was just talking about. A man was kicked out of Madison Square Garden during a New York Knicks game because he had a shirt that said Ban Dolan. Dolan is the last name of the owner of the New York Knicks. They found it offensive, they got him out. I don't want to live in that world, man. And not just because I make a living off of freedom of speech, but I love that about America. Because people that talk usually are people that are cool people, even though they get angry. It's like everybody tells you, don't worry about the guy at the bar who's talking all that smack. He talks all kinds of smack and then he goes home and he never fights. You know what you need to be worried about? It's the quiet dude. That's what you need to be worried about. The majority of serial killers, when we interview people that knew him, you know what they say? He was quiet, he kept to himself. It's always the quiet ones, because they bottle everything up. They're like putting Mentos into a Pepsi can and just watching it explode. Speech and the freedom of it lets you say whatever you want, as long as what you're saying doesn't incite somebody else to commit violence or you don't commit violence. Nobody cares what you think. Who gives a shit? That's the beauty of America, that I can say whatever I want and you can say, fuck that guy, I don't like him, he's not funny. That is the beauty of the world. As much as I have been fucked with in my career, I have never shit on anybody for fucking with me, because you have the right to do that. I've never talked you down. I've never said you're stupid. I block you and I ban you, and sometimes I even try to talk to you. Maybe there's a part of you that's open to seeing a different side of things, but I never say these guys are pieces of shit or stupid or fucked up or angry. You know why? Because you have the freedom and the right to say whatever you want, and I have the freedom to say whatever I want. And if you ever come to my show with a shirt that says, fuck Carlos Mencia, I'm not gonna kick you out. You might inevitably get kicked out because people around you start saying shit to you, and inevitably the volume goes so high that I have to get rid of that because it's fucking with the show. But outside of that, you can do and say whatever you want. I'm never gonna tell you what to do. But I came to America so that I can live the dream. And that dream tells me that I can say whatever the fuck I want, in whatever language I want. Así es que, si tú no me crees, o tú no piensas igual que yo, está bien. Pero ¿sabes lo que puedes hacer? Besarme con toda la lengua. El culo cagado que tengo después de cagar y no limpiarme. That's all I'm saying. Times, they do change. When I was a kid, Sports Illustrated was predominantly filled with white women. That was it. I remember it was my spank bank. I will never forget the Stephanie Seymour layout. Oh, I mean, it was just, it was great. But back in those days, even though the rumblings of why is it that only skinny women, why is it, they were some curvaceous, but not, not crazy curvaceous, definitely all thin. Why? Because back in those days, it was different. They wanted to highlight what they perceived to be the perfect woman, right? The perfect athlete, the perfect woman. It was the way it is. And in some cases, it still exists, right? My body would not be right now on the cover of Health magazine. It just wouldn't, right? It has to be, because it's Men's Health magazine. They would want it to be a certain way. That's the way all of these used to be. But times are changing, man. We got a 57-year-old woman on Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit issue. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. Because now, instead of just putting what they think is perfection, they're saying, look, we want to be there for everybody. I'm down with that. They got a 57-year-old woman, and some kids are like, I would never hit that, but some kids are, and by the way, some older dudes are, and it's a beautiful thing, man. There's a lot of sexy people, and it's different for everybody. They got a transgender woman of color. I cannot even imagine a transgender woman being in Sports Illustrated I don't know how many years ago. It just wasn't something that was normal or thought of. There would have been, this would have been up in arms. Like, I am shocked that right now some parts of this country aren't going crazy about it. They're going crazy about Mr. Potato Head. Huh? They're going crazy about Dr. Seuss. They're even going crazy about transgenders, athletes, females competing, right? I've talked about this. But this one is crazy. So now we got that. We got an Asian woman now who's doing plus, which, see, those three are in. And I heard that there's this 26-year-old model. She has Down syndrome, and she really wants to be a part of it. And I think that this is all amazing. But don't shit on the past, all right? The past was just different. It wasn't that nobody, people didn't hate. At least I never hated people, women that weren't thin and curvaceous. That wasn't it. It's just that, here's the thing. I have 11 sisters. If I want to get a good look at a woman that's definitely a little overweight and not the best looking, I just would have went downstairs and looked at my sisters. There's nothing wrong with them. They're beautiful people. But they're not specimens, right? Everywhere I went as a kid, I saw human mediocrity, which is just averageness. And that was average. I didn't want to jerk off to an average teacher. I wanted to jerk off to that one teacher. And you know who she was, whoever you are. Whether it was a guy or a woman, you know who they were, and they turned you on because they were exceptional. That's what it was about. Today, we don't need to celebrate that, or at least we don't want to. I understand it. We want to say everybody's good, everybody's normal, and put this out there. That's great. But don't shit on us, because back in the day, we wanted to look at perfect pussy. There's nothing wrong with trying to look at perfect pussy. So the original creator of the John Wick series, which I love, was not asked to be a part of the next film. I don't know who's doing the producing, and I'm not gonna judge, because I don't know. I will say this. I love those movies, and I can't wait for the next one. You didn't ask him to be a part of it. You better not fuck it up. 2 words. Justice League. So, this story kind of got a little bit of traction. There was an incident at a store or something like that, just outside of DC. The cops were called. The guy was having some mental issues, and the cop came in and somehow diffused the situation. And it was a big deal, right? It was a big deal because people were saying this is how it should be done. And by the way, I did a story like this the other day. And yes, it is true. But it is more true than you can even imagine. Outside of race, which by the way, we all understand, right? People of color, I've been a part of the whole profiling thing. I get it. But if you just want to do numbers, the majority of people, all right, shot by police officers, right, who were unarmed at the time they were shot, you know who they are? People that are mentally ill or have mental issues. And within the past 2 years, just go through the list of them and you'll see all these people that had mental issues. I mean, I know a story. It's a real story about a guy who was kind of going a little crazy at his house, and the parents called the cops, asking the cops to come and help him out. He had a knife in his hand. It was a small little knife. It was a butter knife, if I'm not mistaken, but it kind of looked pointy, and they told him to put it down, and he kind of walked toward him, and they shot him. Yeah, that happens all the time, more than anybody else. And at a time when we're at least beginning to realize that depression is real. This last year, if you didn't go through sadness, or you didn't go through depression, or you didn't go through times where you didn't feel bad, maybe because you didn't want to leave the house, or didn't want to leave the house, or couldn't leave the house, or you saw that people were dying, or you felt bad, or somebody in your family died, or somebody in your friendship circle died, whatever it is, and you felt that, now we don't just say rub some ice on it, or sana colita de rana, or hey, just think better thoughts. We understand that chemical basis to all this stuff. You know, all these people that are bipolar now that didn't know it. My friend used to smoke so much weed, we thought he was a pothead. You know what it turned out to be? He was self-medicating. He didn't know that he had ADHD. And once he learned that, he stopped smoking weed. He started taking medicine, and now he's just on a whole nother level. This happens all the time. So I think the stories like this highlight one thing more than anything else. We need to take care of people with mental problems. Yes. And here's the interesting thing. Take care of them, because normally they hurt themselves more than anything else. Because I know some of you are thinking, what about the shooters? What about these crazy people? Like that guy that shot people up in Colorado. And I'll talk about that next week, because I need the story to become something first. Yeah, you don't want to talk about it and then something changes and you look like a dick. But that guy, for example, has brought up, did he have mental issues? Well, you know, the majority of people that do mass shootings, they're just crazy. And I don't mean clinically. I mean, they're fucking out of their minds, and not in a clinical way. So the majority of people that are clinically ill, guess what? They usually just harm themselves. So not only should the police take care of them, but we should too. I say, we need a star, right? The more you know. Hey, listen, everybody. I had a great time on this one, man. I hope you did too. Share this with everybody. And remember, man, if you ain't laughing, you ain't living. Till next week, baby. Bye-bye.